Hello everyone, today I'm going to show you how I painted the Prespa Trout with poster paint. For this, I used a thicker watercolor paper so I didn't have to pre-soak it, so I just had to use painter's tape and tape it down. Let's make sure you have a cleanish bucket of water and let's get started. So I usually take out all the colors that I think I'm going to need. Usually at this point I only have a rough idea of the mood I want, but not of the specific colors, so I just muck around until I see a color that I like. A lot of times I don't even remember how I got those colors since there's so many colors on my palette. Probably a better idea to remember the paint that you actually took out. The more you paint, the more the color mixing process will become more intuitive. For me to match the previous colors, sometimes I just go with the paints already on the palette or try my best to remember what I used and with my eyes gauge the color. Sometimes the colors are a little bit off, so I would just have to go over the previously already painted parts. Oh sorry, that was my cat scratching stuff. One thing you have to remember is that the colors will dry lighter once it's no longer wet. Now I've started to paint the water effect. As always, I have a page of references on the screen next to me. Water can be very hard to paint, and this may be one of my first times painting it, since it's usually in the realm of animation, and I do mostly backgrounds. But in terms of illustration, the waters are usually painted either really realistic or more abstract and simplified. I prefer the simplified method because all you really need is get across the idea that these fishes are swimming underwater. As you see here, I started using some unusual colors like yellow and later on some pink. I like adding colors that is just a little bit off of what you normally imagine the colors are, like the water is usually blue or the reflections are of the trees above should be green. I think adding a bit of the opposite color or the opposite temperature, such as the water is cool, so you add a bit of warm colors to it, will give you better contrast and more interest. Okay, I'm going to stop talking for a while and let you enjoy the music and the time lapse. I just want to pop in and say I didn't know how the dapple light effect was going to come out. I know I wanted to have the effects, but whether it was going to paint the light first and then the dark, or the dark first then the light, I didn't think about it too much. You can see I tried both methods while I was doing the different fishes and see which one you like most. Just be brave and go for it. When I run out of space on a palette, I'm pretty lazy. I just take the brush I have right now, add some water to the palette and wipe it up with whatever paper towel I had in hand, and that's all of that. When you're in the zone, you just gotta keep going, so this is my lazy way. For the second fish, I did the dark colors of it first, as in the colors it would be under shadow without light. before I added in the dapple highlights. Painting various shades of brown wasn't very easy to make interesting, so I made sure I was mixing a bunch of colors. That's kind of the way I tend to mix colors, is having all the options on my palette and always make my color out of primary colors so that each color is just not this squeezed out brown out of the tube but mixed in with another color just to give it a bit more interest. A lot of times during the middle of the painting you feel like the painting is not going to turn out, and right now this one looks like a pile of brown. So usually just cross your fingers, trust your intuition, and hopefully they turn out okay. And if you're following the rules of color and light, looking at your references, usually it'll turn out alright. You might still dislike it because it's your own art and that's how you feel about your art most of the time. But it might be alright, who knows? Let's see. The most important parts of the painting has been done, at least where I think I want the focus to be is finished. So something I keep in mind at this time is to make sure the remainder of the painting to be not too much detailed and stand out and draw attention. That's not needed. That goes for the rock in the foreground as well. Another way to control where one's eye go is using color and value. Since I want their attention to remain on the fish, I want to make sure the foreground rock doesn't have too much contrast, so I chose to use the blue that merges with the color of the water, so the difference is a little subtle. I still have highlights and shadows to pop up and make it more interesting and capture the roughness of the rock, but I kept the contrast at a minimum so the focus could still remain on the fish. Alright, we're at the final stretch now. I think at this point I was pretty tired and just wanted to get the painting finished and over with. So the rock was pretty simple, but I think it was to the benefit of the painting since it's not the most important part anyways. But you can't give up yet. This part is always still very important. So usually I step back, look at the painting as a whole, see what other details need fixing, and before I add the final water droplets as final touches, then I'll give it a little sparkle. And that's all. Let me know in the comments below if you have any questions about whatever I did in this video that I didn't speak about. Thank you for watching!